All right, brothers. Looks like we have enough participants on the call, so inshallah we'll start now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My dear brothers and sisters, my name is Rizwan, Asghar Rizwan. So on behalf of HACPA, or the Hyderabadi Association of Central PA, would like to welcome you all to this seminar. So Jazakumullah khairan for joining in. And also a special thanks to our speaker, Mufti Abdullah Nana. Jazakallah khair for your time, for taking the time out to speak to us. So, Jazakallah for your time. Inshallah, this seminar is going to be 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the number of questions you pose to the speaker. And it's going to be an interactive session, inshallah, so you can ask the questions during each topic, or you can also ask at the end of the session, inshallah. Again, you can send the questions, you can ask the questions directly to the speaker, or you can also type in your questions either to me or to the speaker, in case, if you want to keep your names anonymous. So I know it's already 6:07, 6:06. So inshallah, we'll begin the session now, seminar now, with the Quran recitation. And for this, I would like to invite Fayaq Rizwan. He's going to recite the few verses of Surah Baqarah, and which deals with interest. So Fayaq, by the way, Fayaq is a senior in Central Open High School, and he's planning to go to Penn State Shreyas Honors College, inshallah. So please make dua for him. So Fayaq, it's all yours.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. الذين يأكلون الربا لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا وأحل الله البيع وحرم الربا فمن جاءه موعظة من ربه فانتهى فله ما سلف وأمره إلى الله ومن عاد فأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون يمحق الله الربا ويربي الصدقات والله لا يحب كل كفار أثيم إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وأقاموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة لهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وذروا ما بقي من الربا إن كنتم مؤمنين فإن لم تفعلوا فأذنوا بحرب من الله ورسوله وإن تبتم فلكم رؤوس أموالكم لا تظلمون ولا تظلمون وإن كان ذو أسرة فنذرة إلى ميسرة وأن تصدقوا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون واتقوا يوما ترجعون فيه إلى الله ثم توفى كل نفس ما كسبت وهم لا يظلمون صدق الله العظيم.
Fayaq, can you also do the translation too, please?
Those who consume interest cannot stand on the day of resurrection, except as one stands who is being beaten by Satan into insanity. That is because they say, trade is just like interest, but Allah has permitted trade and has been forbidden interest. So whoever has received an admonition from his Lord and desists may have what is past, and his affair rests with Allah. But whoever returns to dealing in interest or usury, those are the companions of the fire. They will abide eternally therein. Allah destroys interest and gives increase for charity, and Allah does not like every sinning disbeliever. Indeed, those who believe and do righteous deeds and establish prayer and give zakah will have their reward with their Lord, and there will be no fear concerning them, nor will they grieve. O you have believed, fear Allah and give up what remains due to you of interest if you should be believers. And if you do not, then be informed of a war from Allah and His Messenger. But if you repent, you may have your principle. You do no wrong, nor are you wronged. And if someone is in hardship, then postponement until ease. But if you give charity, then it is better for you if you only knew. And fear a day when you will be returned to Allah. Then every soul will be compensated for what is earned, and they will not be treated unjustly.
Jazakallah khair, Faiq. Now, inshallah, coming to the main session, we'll invite our main speaker, Mufti Abdullah Nana. Mufti Saab is going to talk on the home financing, inshallah, home financing that is without riba. And as we have already seen, the ayahs recited by Faiq, where taking interest or dealing with interest is a major sin in Islam. And as we have seen, the ones who deal with the interest, they'll not be able to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. So he's going to give options on Islamic home financing options that deals without riba, inshallah. And he's also going to talk on cryptocurrencies. I know, there has been a lot of interest in our community. They want to hear about cryptocurrencies, and inshallah, he's going to give a short talk on that one. And then he's also going to talk on the retirement plans, investments in the funds that are halal, inshallah, and that are based on Islamic principles or that are Sharia compliant, inshallah. So without any further ado, I would like to invite our guest speaker, Sheikh Abdullah Nana. My dear brothers and sisters, he has a lot of credit, achievements to his credit, alhamdulillah. And so he serves the global Muslim community as an expert in Islamic finance and halal foods, as well as an Imam, Mufti and Teacher. After graduating with honors from UC Berkeley University with a degree in business and economics, he pursued higher Islamic studies in South Africa, attaining a master's equivalent degree in Islamic Theology. He is widely accepted research scholar and has written and translated several publications in the fields of Halal and Islamic Finance. So he is currently serving the local community as the Director of Affairs at the Islamic Center of Mill Valley, California. Mufti provides Islamic advice and support for a wide range from marriage ceremonies to school lectures. He is also available to educate and inform about Islam. So alhamdulillah, mashallah, man, great bio, Mufti Saab. So without any further ado, the control is to you, Mufti Saab.
Sheikh, you're on mute.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah bil alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Muhammad Nabi al-Kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. First of all, I would like to thank the Hyderabadi community in Pennsylvania, HACPA. So sorry, it's my first time pronouncing the word. So I'd like to thank you for hosting me and giving me this chance to share with you some knowledge on this extremely important topic. And as our presenter and the MC pointed out, the theme between these three topics today is avoiding riba and avoiding interest. Right? So inshallah, we will be discussing these three relevant and important topics: home financing, investments, and cryptocurrency. And as you will see, the common theme is how we as Muslims can purchase a home in a lawful way, in a halal way, how we as Muslims can invest our money, put our money into retirement plans, 401ks, etc., but also in a halal way while avoiding interest. And likewise, how we can also jump on this bandwagon and this trend of cryptocurrency and also make money in a halal way while avoiding interest. Now, each one of these topics are very detailed, and we can spend an entire hour talking about each one of these three topics. So the challenge is, inshallah, we'll try to summarize everything try to summarize each topic into 15 minutes. Yet at the same time, these are very comprehensive and detailed topics. And inshallah, we'll also do our best to take your questions. We'll try to make it interactive, and inshallah, we'll try to take your questions. And the one thing that I've experienced, mashallah, I have a number of good friends and sheikhs and friends who are from the Hyderabadi community. I wish to say this as well. In fact, my cousin is married into the Hyderabadi community as well. So I live in California. My cousin met a girl from Chicago, who's also from Hyderabad. He also went with her to Hyderabad, and mashallah, she's a part of our family. So just, if you don't mind me sharing this, I can say people that I've met from Hyderabad are among the most educated Muslims in the world, most educated people in the world, mashallah. And also the second thing I want to share as well, they have the people that I've interacted with from Hyderabad are the most culturally refined. What we use this word tahzeeb or muhazzam. From my interactions with people from Hyderabad, they are the most cultured and most culturally refined and well-mannered people in the world as well. So sorry, I just had to add that in, and I did want to share that with you as well. So coming to our topic, home financing, inshallah. So this is the first of three topics that we will be discussing. So home financing specifically from an Islamic perspective and according to a halal or interest-free way, as opposed to conventional financing. And the most common question that I've seen in my interactions throughout America is, Sheikh, if we purchase our home using a Islamic home financing option, it's going to cost more money. And at the end of the day, what is the difference between purchasing a home through Guidance Residential or University Islamic Financial or another Islamic home financing company versus going to Chase Bank or Bank of America? And this is a common question. In fact, it's probably the most common question that I've seen in America. There is no difference. This is what people say. There is no difference between Guidance Residential and Chase Bank. It's the same exact thing. So in answering this question, I wish to share with you the words of a wise Hyderabadi Mufti, if you don't mind me quoting him, Mufti Nawar Rahman, a very senior alim of America and a very senior alim of Chicago. So he gives an example, and of course this example is there for simplification purposes. So the challenge is when someone looks at the Islamic home financing options and Chase Bank at a cursory level, at the surface level, they do look very similar. But sometimes we need to go beyond the surface and we need to analyze things more deeply. And we can't be fooled by appearances. We can't be deceived by appearances. So Mufti Nawar Rahman of Chicago, Damat Barakatuhum, he gives the following example. He says, let's take a look at two men. So one, his name is Zaid. The other, his name is John. Right? These two individuals, they both have a significant other. They live in the home with a woman. They live with that woman. They eat with that woman. They sleep with that woman. They both have children with that woman. And they both live next door to each other. Now, at face value, if we look at these two houses and these two couples, they look exactly the same. Right? They're having children. They're living together. They're having fights. They're having good times. They look exactly the same. However, in the case of Zayd went to his local imam. He went to his local masjid. And in front of that imam, he did the ijab and qabul. He went with his spouse, and in front of the imam, they did the Islamic nikah. And in the case of John did not do so. So if we look at the net result or the outcome, in these two situations, they both have children, they both are living together, they're both sleeping together, but one is halal and one is haram. Even though the two look exactly the same, one is halal and one is haram. Right? So this is an important example that I normally like to give, and which I've heard myself, which I've heard Mufti Nawar Rahman himself give in a lecture as well. So in the same way, when we look at Islamic home financing here in America, and we look at these various options that are there, these options and these models are different from a conventional loan. They're not the same thing. They are different. And let me give you a simple example, inshallah, to illustrate this point, how Islamic home financing is different from conventional financing. So here, I have some props here. Let me, inshallah, take some props here to help me. Okay, so let's say this, which I have in front of me, is a house. Let me get a better example. Let's see which other props I have. Okay, so for simplicity purposes, let's assume this, which I have in front of me, is a house, and I wish to purchase this house. So the conventional mortgage, right, the way it works, I wish to purchase this house and I do not have the cash for this house. So what do? So let me use examples here. Inshallah. So the point is I wish to illustrate the point here. So I'm going to use cash and I'm going to use examples for you to see. Right? I don't have a real model of a house here, but let's go through this example. Yeah. Okay. So I wish to purchase this house, and I do not have the cash for this house. So in the conventional model, if you're referring to a conventional loan from Bank of America, etc. Can everyone please put their their phone on mute, please? I think someone doesn't have their phone on mute. Okay. So let's assume the value of this house is $50,000. Right. So I have a $50 note here. So, and the assumption also, I do not have the cash to pay for this house. Right. So I do not have the $50,000. So I don't know what the home prices are in Pennsylvania. Home prices here in California, they're through the roof. Right? Our property taxes are probably closer to $50,000 compared to buying a home. Our property house taxes are up to about $13,000 a year. So the scenario is I don't have cash to pay for the house. That's why I'm looking for financing. And let's say the value of the home is $50,000. So because I don't have the money, I approached the bank to obtain financing, to obtain a mortgage or conventional mortgage to purchase the home. So the bank will tell me, yes, we will give you a loan to purchase this home. And for example, we will give you this $50,000 and you will be paying us back. For example, you're going to be paying us back $70,000 for over 30 years or whatever the term is. And in that way, this is the way for you to purchase your home. We will give you the $50,000 cash to purchase the home, and you will pay us back with interest. You will pay us back $70,000, for example. Right. So the transaction is done between me and the bank. I obtain my financing, and I purchase the home, and I have the home. And then when I pay them back, I will be paying them back an amount with interest over 30 years. So yes, there's a simplified version. I'm not using down payments, but this is a simplified example of how the process will work. Now let's take a look at how the murabaha model, murabaha in Islamic law is known as an installment sale, right? Or a purchase based on payments, right? Like, for example, how many appliances or electronics work nowadays, even how many cell phones work as well. So the scenario is, again, I wish to purchase the home. The value of the home is, the current price of the home is $50,000. I don't have the cash for it. So I approach XYZ Islamic Home Financing Company. And I tell them I wish to purchase this home. So what happens? They will first go and purchase that home for $50,000. They will give the $50,000. They will purchase the home. Now they will become the owner of the home. So the ownership has transferred over to this XYZ Home Financing Company. Now they will turn around and they will say, we will sell you this home that is in our possession. We will sell you this home for $70,000. And you will pay us back over 30 years. So if we look at the two transactions, the end result, just like the example I gave of the two men living with a woman, Zayd and John, in the same way, if you look at the two examples, the end result or the net outcome seems to be the same. But in terms of the nature of the transaction and the structure of the transaction, the two transactions are different. Right? One is an asset-backed transaction, an asset-backed financing. Right? The bank owns the home, and the bank is selling me the home on an installment basis on a payment plan. In the first scenario, the bank does not own the home. The bank is offering me a loan. Right? It's an interest-based loan. I am receiving $50,000. I'm going to pay them back $70,000. So even though these two transactions seem to be the same, they're not the same. In Islamic law, the first transaction, which was an interest-based loan, is unlawful. It involves riba. The second type of transaction, which the Islamic Home Financing Company is selling me the home on a payment plan, that transaction is halal. It is permissible. So these were two simple examples and simplified examples just to explain the concept and explain how some of these models work. Of course, there are more issues involved. The contracts sometimes are 15 pages long, 20 pages long. There are more scenarios to consider as well. But at a basic level, I wish to explain today the difference in how these models work and how the structure is different. And how one is an interest-based loan, which is impermissible, which is haram in Islamic law. The other is a asset-backed transaction. It's an installment sale, and that second transaction is permissible in Islamic law. So inshallah, that's the basics, or Islamic Home Financing 101. That is the bare level basics. Inshallah, any questions or inshallah, any comments on what I've explained, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum.
Yeah, I have one question.
Yes, brother.
So you explained us about one of the models, which is Murabaha, right? There is another model, which is incremental ownership.
Yes, brother.
Yeah, so like, do these Islamic financial institutions, do they offer these kind of models, or it's just the first one which is available?
Yes, brother. So in practice, the home financing models are more complicated, and there does exist more than one model, right? So for today, just for simplification purposes, I've just explained the Murabaha model, installment sales. There's also another famous model known as, which you mentioned, the diminishing partnership model, right? Or the buyback model, right? So that's another common model used as well. There's a third model known as ijara, or rent to own. So multiple models do exist. And if we had a little bit more time, I'd go into more detail and describe every single model. But that is a summary of the three models and how they work. And as you can tell, all three models do not have interest-based loan. That's the key here. All three models involve some form of buying or selling or renting or buyback. There is no interest-based loan found in these three models. Inshallah, any more questions, inshallah?
Looks like Brother Aziz has a question too.
Okay, so
Brother Aziz.
Yeah, go ahead, Brother Aziz.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Brother Muhammad. Thank you for the host, Aziz. The question I have, actually, I have a couple, if you don't mind. The first one, I heard that the money let's say that you did a job, that the money that you give to me, I want to purchase a house, you borrow it, or you get it from the third party, which a bank. That first, and what's your view of that? And the second one, you give us explanation about different two loans, as you say, to families, which is I understood that. There is any hadiths or masail fiqhiyah that support what you said, please. And is the rate different from brokers, Islamic brokers, from one to another? And Jazakallah khairan, Ustad, Shaykhana.
Okay. Yeah. So, brother, your first question. Yes, this is a valid concern. Unfortunately, the Islamic finance industry in America, is in its infancy stages. So as a result, we don't have the infrastructure, and we don't have the halal source of financing like the Middle East does, or like Malaysia or Indonesia do. So as you rightfully pointed out, brother, if any Islamic home financing company, let's say they finance 1,000 homes, right? So for them to purchase those homes and sell them to the Muslims or finance them, they will need literally billions of dollars. And a small startup company will not have that cash. So yes, this is a practical reality, that in the back end, the majority of these Islamic home financing companies are getting their financing from Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, or other sources, right? So as a result, from the back end, many of these home financing companies are themselves involved in riba or interest, right? But it is a reality. I'm being blunt and honest with you. This is the reality of what is taking place right now. And part of it is due to the lack of infrastructure, or the lack of funds available, or halal funds available in this country. So I agree that it is not ideal. I agree that in any shape or form, Muslims or Muslim companies should not be involved in interest or interest-based or taking loans from other banks. At the same time, when we analyze the Islamic ruling, what we look at, the focus is the contract and relationship between the purchaser and the Islamic bank, right? So for example, XYZ Islamic Home Financing Bank and the customer by the name of Zaid. So the focus in order for the transaction to be lawful and halal is the specific transaction and the terms between the purchaser, Zaid, and the home financing company, XYZ, Islamic Home Financing Company. If the contract and relationship between the two of them is done in a halal way, the transaction will also be halal. In other words, what goes on in the back end and what XYZ, Islamic Home Financing Company, does to obtain their funds will not directly impact that transaction between Zaid and the XYZ Home Financing Company. Right? It is not ideal, but it will not impact the status of that transaction as long as the structure of the transaction between Zaid and the Islamic Home Financing Company is halal. The transaction will also be halal. So that's the answer to your first question. The second question, brother, you asked, I just gave that example of the man Zaid who lives with the woman and John who also lives with the woman. And you asked, is there a direct proof from this from the Quran or Hadith? So yes, brother, there is a proof. And the proof is a authentic hadith found in Sahih Muslim, in which the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ described the nature of a transaction that one of his companions, Bilal radhiyallahu anhu, had engaged in. So I'm going to summarize it right now. The summary of the transaction is as follows. Let me see if I have some props here to help me. So Bilal radhiyallahu anhu, once Bilal radhiyallahu anhu wanted to engage in a bartering transaction. And this has to do with, in the old days, they had this form of bartering, selling goods for goods. So Bilal radhiyallahu anhu, he had 2 pounds of inferior quality dates. And he wanted to trade those 2 pounds of dates for 1 pound of quality dates. So for example, 1 pound of quality dates, let's say organic medjool dates from California, right? MashaAllah, the month of Ramadan is coming up and California medjool dates are famous, right? They sell for $8 or $9 a pound now, maybe even more. So this one book here represents the 1 pound of quality dates and expensive dates. And these 2 books here represent 2 pounds of inferior quality or low quality dates. So Bilal, and the rule is in Islamic law, if you are trading dates for dates, the amount on both sides must be exactly the same. So Bilal radhiyallahu anhu tells the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, I took my 2 pounds of inferior quality dates and I traded them for 1 pound of quality dates. And Bilal radhiyallahu anhu described this transaction to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. When the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ heard this, he said, ذَلِكَ عَيْنُ الرِّبَى. Oh Bilal, what you just did is the very essence of riba and interest. The transaction which you engage in is impermissible. But then the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ explained to Bilal, oh Bilal, the permissible way for you to do this was as follows. You take your 2 pounds of inferior quality dates and exchange them with that same person for $1. Right? So you take your 1 pound of inferior quality dates and you exchange them with the person for $1. And then you take that $1 and use that to buy the 1 pound of quality dates. Now, what is the net outcome or the net result of this? At the end of the day, the person got the 1 pound of quality dates and they exchanged their 2 pounds of inferior quality dates. But when looking at these 2 transactions, one was halal, one was haram. So likewise, when we look at these home financing transactions, such as murabaha, there is a difference. Even though the transactions look the same, the net outcome seems to be the same, but there is a difference. Right? So that's the summary of this, brother.
I have one last question on this topic, Sheikh.
Yes.
The question is, do you endorse any particular Islamic financing institution over others, and why?
Yes. Okay.
I think we'll take this last question on this topic, and then we'll move on to the next one, inshallah, because of lack of time.
I will say, mashallah, excellent questions. Just time is very limited, but these are very good questions, mashallah, excellent questions. So I should have mentioned this earlier. One of the protocols is before giving a lecture, you state your conflicts of interest, if any. And to be fair, I am an advisor for University Islamic Financial. I am the Sharia advisor, and I've served this capacity for many years. So University Islamic Financial, I do endorse them, I do recommend them, and I am one of their Sharia advisors. Along with this, I also do recommend Guidance Residential. Mufti Taqi Usmani is on their board, and I do recommend their model as well. So these are the two companies which I would recommend Muslims purchase their homes through, inshallah. And I think there was this one minor question as well. Do you have a complete document specifying those models with examples? Yes. So if someone could share it here, Mufti Taqi Usmani has written an excellent book that summarizes all three of the models which I had referred to, and which goes into detail regarding murabaha and home financing. The name of the book is An Introduction to Islamic Finance by Mufti Taqi Usmani. And inshallah, if you do a Google search, you can easily find a PDF of the book. The name of the book again, An Introduction to Islamic Finance by Mufti Taqi Usmani, inshallah. Okay, so let's go on to the next topic, inshallah.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair.
Okay. So again, retirement savings and inshallah savings plans and investments as a whole. So this is also a very detailed and a very comprehensive topic. And we could easily spend another hour and a half talking about this, discussing this topic as well. So today I will simply give a summary and inshallah give a executive analysis or executive summary of investments in Islam. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has mentioned to us in a hadith, وَأَن تَذَرُوا عَالَتَكَ أَغْنِيَاءَ خَيْرٌ مِنْ أَن تَذَرَهُمْ فُقَرَاء يَتَكَفَّفُ النَّاسِ. Or كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. So in terms of Islamic law, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has encouraged us to make financial arrangements for our heirs and surviving relatives. Meaning that as the breadwinners or as those individuals who are responsible for their families, we should do our best to leave some money, we leave some savings for our surviving children, for our surviving wives, just in case something happens to us. May Allah forbid, if we pass away tomorrow, we want to make sure our children and our surviving spouse are taken care of. And of course, one of the main ways we could do that is saving up for a rainy day and putting our money into good investment options, such as real estate, such as the stock market, such as cryptocurrency, and such as precious metals. So what is the argument behind these investments? As many of us are well aware of, inflation is the highest it has been in America during the last 30 years. And how does inflation work? It means, just take a look at gas prices, respected friends. Right? Perhaps some of you can remember there was a time in America you could purchase oil or you could purchase gas at $1 a gallon. When I went to college in 1998, I remember being able to go to the gas station and filling up my tank at $1 a gallon. $1 a gallon. As we know now, gas prices are going through the roof. And as one person, they made a joke. They said, in this month of Ramadan, just as my body will be fasting from food and drink and intercourse with my wife, likewise, my car will be fasting as well because it's too expensive to drive. So going back to my original point, inflation during the last year or so has been really picking up and increasing, which means the buying power of my dollar is going down. And if I leave this dollar under my mattress, or if I just leave it like this, each year, the value of this dollar is decreasing. So it makes a lot of sense, literally it makes a lot of sense that we place our money into investments that are generating income and investments that are growing in value over time. So various options are there. Today, we're going to be discussing in brief the stock market, 401ks, and the last topic, we will also discuss cryptocurrency as investment as well. So in summary, when to invest in the stock market, there are some requirements and there are some conditions. And inshallah, I'll go through these conditions that number one is any portfolio or 401k or retirement plan is made up of individual stocks. For example, in one portfolio, there might be 35 stocks. And in order to determine if that portfolio is halal and the income generated from that portfolio is halal, we have to look at each individual stock. And we have to look at the halal status of each individual stock. And also looking at the fact that the thousands of companies on the US stock exchange are not owned by Muslims. And that almost every single stock company in America or any company in America has a percentage of haram income. Looking at this fact, right, we have to come up with the criteria to accommodate this fact that there is no 100% halal investing company or stock in America right now. So the senior muftis in the world and the Islamic finance experts in the world and an organization that is the gold standard in Islamic finance, AOFI, A-A-O-I-F-I. These are the following standards and 5 requirements for investing in the stock market according to AOFI, Mufti Usmani, and other scholars. Number 1, the primary business of the stock company must be halal. The primary business must be halal. So we as Muslims cannot invest in a casino, for example. We as Muslims cannot invest in a music company, for example. We as Muslims cannot invest in a pork company, for example. So number 1, the primary business of the company should be halal. Number 2, the haram income or even the interest earned by a company should be less than 5%. Should be less than 5%. Again, going back to my original point, because these companies are non-Muslim, if they have any excess cash reserves, like Apple, then they're not going to leave those cash reserves lying there. They're going to put those cash reserves in a bank and earn a fixed income. So, as I mentioned earlier, almost every single stock company in America has a percentage of haram income. It's unavoidable. So the second requirement is the haram income of a company should be less than 5%. Requirement number 3, that as a Muslim who is investing in these companies, we should actively try to make a change in the company and voice our disapproval. That company is putting their money into interest income. We as Muslims cannot do this, so we should voice our disapproval. For example, write them an email and let them know, as Muslims, we do not agree with your investment policy. We do not agree with your policy to put money into interest income. Or, for example, in the case of Tesla, we do not agree with your decision to start selling tequila and to start selling alcohol, for example. So the third requirement, voicing our disapproval and informing the company of our disapproval. This can be in the form of an email. This can be speaking up at the annual general meeting. The fourth requirement is that whatever capital gains we earn or whatever income we earn through dividends, that we purify our wealth by giving that percentage of haram income in charity. How does that work? Let me explain. For example, I receive $100 dividend from XYZ company, halal company, which I'm investing in. It's $100 dividend. And let's say when I was doing the calculation, the haram income, the percentage of a haram income from that company was 4%. As we said, it had to be less than 5%. So in this particular case, it was 4%. And I received a dividend of $100. So what does that mean? From the $100, in order to purify my wealth, I will take $4 from that $100 dividend, and I will give $4 in charity. I will give $4 to the poor. This will purify my wealth. This is a way of purifying my wealth and making sure it's halal. The fifth requirement has to do with the liquid and illiquid assets of a company. So these are things when we look at the balance sheet or the income statement, we can determine how many of the assets of a company are liquid versus illiquid. So what does liquid mean? For example, in the form of cash. What does illiquid assets mean? For example, machinery, inventory, factories, equipment, etc. So the fifth requirement is the illiquid assets, the non-liquid assets of a company should be no less than 66%. They should be at least 2/3. And the liquid assets should not be more than 1/3, should not be more than 33.33%. So these are the 5 requirements for investing in the stock market. And yes, there's some more details to go into regarding the stock market, regarding the conditions, but this is a summary of investing in the stock market. So we're kind of running out of time. I don't want to go more than an hour, but that is a summary of investing in the stock market, inshallah. Okay. Do you have any ideas about Azad asset investments? No. So yes, there are a few Islamic mutual funds, which in principle should be adhering to the 5 conditions which I've outlined. So it would be their job as Islamic investment funds to vet and filter all the stocks which they invest in. I am not an advisor for Azad investments. I do not know of their criteria. I'm not an advisor for Amana mutual funds. So today I cannot comment on them. That is up to you to do your due diligence and to do research. Okay, any more questions about the stock market or retirement plans?
What is the name again, Sheikh? Is that Azan? A-Z-A-A-N?
Sorry, but so there's a company out there. It's called Azad, as we say in freedom.
Azad.
Azad. A-Z-A-A-D. Azad Investments. There's also another company called Wahid Investments. W-A-H-E-D. There's also another company called Amana Mutual Funds. Okay. So we have another question. Okay. What about trading options? Yes. So again, the senior muftis in the world and the AOFI standards and Mufti Usmani they have declared that trading options, futures, etc., short sales and so on, these are not permissible in Islamic law. This is not my opinion. This is the opinion of Mufti Usmani and other senior muftis. So any form of futures or options are not permissible in Islamic law. Yes. And any more question? Okay. Okay. So very good question. Next question. How do we make sure that the company's interest income is less than 5%? Could the interest of income vary from time to time? And if so, how to keep up with that so it doesn't fall outside of 5%? So it is not easy, respected listeners. Yes, normally every year the company will have some financials, and these financials will be public information. Their income statement, their balance sheet, etc. So that information is public information. It is available. And yes, we should do our best to stay up to date and to check their haram income to make sure it's not more than 5%. Okay.
All right, Sheikh, we have 5 to 6, so I think we can move on to the next topic.
Okay, so I apologize. Mashallah, there's some excellent questions. I wish we could spend some more time with these questions. Inshallah, we'll do our best to complete these topics, but just keep in mind, there's a lot more than meets the eye. And mashallah, these topics are very jam-packed topics. They are full of information, and there's a lot more detail, inshallah. So maybe on a future date or a future session, we can go into slightly more detail. So today, inshallah, I'm going to give you the complete executive summary on cryptocurrencies. Okay. So I've spent one hour, 15 minutes talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Today, I'm just going to give you the 5-minute executive summary. So when we discuss cryptocurrencies, number one, the most famous one of them all, and by default, what do we mean when we say cryptocurrency? We generally refer to Bitcoin, BTC. Most of the research in Islamic law on cryptocurrencies has been on Bitcoin. And as a result, most of the interest and most of the discussion will also be on Bitcoin. What is the Islamic stance on Bitcoin in particular? Yes, we know that there's thousands of altcoins, there's thousands of other forms of cryptocurrencies, but the most famous one of them all is Bitcoin. So inshallah, I'll give you a reference from all the fatwas that have been written on cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, and from all the research which has been done. I have spent tens of hours reading these fatwas and looking into these research papers. The most reliable research which I've seen, the most thorough research which I've seen, is done by Mufti Faraz bin Adam. So if someone could do this, look on Google, Faraz bin Adam, Bitcoin fatwa. So inshallah, if someone could just share it. I'm speaking right now, so I can't go on the internet at the same time. But type in Faraz bin Adam Bitcoin, or type in Darul Fiqh Faraz bin Adam Bitcoin. So Mufti Faraz bin Adam, for 2 years, he wrote his master's thesis on Bitcoin. So he researched the topic of Bitcoin for 2 years. And he wrote, okay, so I think that's the same one. Actually, if it's Amana Consultancy, type in Amana Consultancy. That's the latest one. Sorry, so if you can type in Amana Consultancy Bitcoin fatwa. So inshallah, if someone could share that with the rest of us. So Mufti Faraz bin Adam wrote a 50-page research paper for his master's thesis on the topic of Bitcoin in Islam. And the summary is, according to him, Bitcoin, it is permissible to invest in Bitcoin as an investment. It is permissible. And he says, when it comes to using Bitcoin as a currency, he says more research needs to be done. But he says specifically, buying Bitcoin as an investment, it is permissible. So just sharing that with you. I myself have money in Bitcoin as well. I follow the price of Bitcoin as well. But also at the same time, I advise everyone here, do your due diligence. Bitcoin is a very volatile investment. It's a high risk investment. It's a very volatile investment as well. It's not for everyone. It's not for the faint-hearted, right? If you don't want to see your money going up and down on a daily basis like a wave, then it might not be a good investment for you. Just because it's halal doesn't mean it's a wise investment, or doesn't mean it's a good investment strategy. So just keep that in mind as well. So inshallah, that's the summary. Inshallah, I can't comment on every single cryptocurrency out there. There are thousands of cryptocurrencies, but that's just a summary on cryptocurrencies in Islam, inshallah. Any questions on cryptocurrencies, inshallah?
But like, I mean, there is a question on investments. The question is, please share the advice on working in asset management companies, not banks, that deal with equities, bonds, and investments.
Yes. So that is a very good question. So the challenge is an asset management company will have to deal with bonds. And as we know, bonds are interest-based. So that is a problematic situation. At the same time, I think more research needs to be done on that topic, and a thorough fatwa needs to be written on that topic. So inshallah, if you don't mind, I will defer that question, inshallah. Okay, and any more questions?
Yes, Sheikh. So what is the position on the sukuk bonds? Like some countries like Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, Indonesia, they issue sukuk bonds, which is claimed to be halal, but it's kind of bond, right? So
Yeah.
What is the position on that?
Yeah. So brother, very good question again. It depends on the specific nature of that sukuk bond, and whether it's just a using a bond and putting Islamic name on it, or is the structure of the transaction different? So yes, in principle, there are ways to set up a Islamic compliant sukuk. There are ways to do it, and what you'd be using would be setting a minimum return and using certain Islamic principles to make sure that there's no interest involved. So yes, there are ways to do it. However, the majority of the sukuk that are out there are problematic. And Mufti Usmani has also made reference to this as well. So if you wouldn't mind, again, I can't generalize in all sukuk, but there are ways to make the sukuk is Sharia compliant and halal. But unfortunately, most sukuk are problematic, and they strongly resemble interest, or they involve they are the same thing as a normal bond. So that's kind of the summary. It depends on an individual basis. Okay, I think we have another question as well. Okay, are there any good Muslim financial advisors? Yes. So there is a company that I am the advisor for a Islamic investing company. The name is thezeal.com, and the zeal is spelled with TH. So here, let me type it in for you. So I've done a presentation for them. It's thezeal.com. I am an advisor for this company, so as a conflict to be transparent about my conflict of interest, the way this company works is as follows. Remember, I mentioned those 5 criteria for a stock to be halal. So what this company does, under the guidance of Mufti Usmani and his family, Usmani and Sons, what service they offer is they vet every single stock manually, and they give a fatwa on every single stock. So what this means is it takes the research away, responsibility of research off our shoulders, and they will vet every single, they will go through the income statement, and they will vet every single stock and give you a green light or red light. And they'll make sure that they'll give a fatwa on every single stock on an individual basis. So inshallah, I've given the references. Inshallah, you can look that up as well. Okay.
Do they charge for that services, or
Yes,
is it free?
They do charge. They do charge.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So inshallah, that's a summarized presentation. I apologize. I can't go in as much detail out of interest of time. I don't want to take all day. But yes, inshallah, there. Okay. So we have one more question. Can you repeat the fifth principle to consider? So the fifth principle or requirement for a stock to be halal was the illiquid assets should be at least 2/3 of the total assets. And the liquid assets should not be more than 1/3. So again, these requirements, you will find them in the same book, which I referenced earlier, Introduction to Islamic Finance by Mufti Abdullah Nana. You will find an explanation of the home financing models as well. And you will also find the 5 conditions for investing in the stock market as well, inshallah. You will find them all in that book, inshallah. So I recommend that book. Here, I'll type it out here, if you don't mind. Introduction to Islamic Finance by Mufti Abdullah Nana. Inshallah, you can find a PDF of this book online as well. So inshallah, please feel free to do further reading. Feel free, inshallah, to do some further research on these topics and read up on these topics, inshallah.
Okay, Jazakallah for your time, Sheikh. Alhamdulillah, it was very informational and beneficial to our community. Jazakallah khair. I think our next monthly event is next month, inshallah, and that's going to be Ramadan Iftar, which falls on April 24th, inshallah. So I request everyone to please join in, and also kindly spread the word. It's going to be a home cooked food, damki biryani, mirchi ka salan, and all that, inshallah. So you're also invited too, Sheikh.
Inshallah, inshallah.
So yeah, Sheikh, if you can ready, that would be appreciated. So.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah bil alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Muhammad bil kareem. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا ولم تغفر لنا ترحمنا كنا من الخاسرين. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك واغننا بفضلك عمن سواك. اللهم نسأل الهدى والتقى والعفو والغنى. يا مصرف القلوب صرف كل طاعتك. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوب دينك. ربنا تقبل منا إنك سميع العليم. سبحان الله بحمدك سبحانك اللهم لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. سبحان ربك عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, and also Jazakumullah khairan to each and everyone for joining this seminar. So, okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. May Allah bless you and your family.
Ameen. Ameen. It was my pleasure. Jazakallah khair for inviting me, inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah. And we would love for you to join us some other time also, if you're available, inshallah, for some additional topics. And what we're trying to do here in HACPA is to, keep the ball rolling, like once every month or so. We try to organize some educational program, so that we can educate the community and the members and families that we have there.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, will you be able to share your email address just in case? If anyone has any questions,
Sure. Yeah, so let me just type it out here.
Okay.
Yeah, muftiabdullah@gmail.com. So Mufti Abdullah. Yeah. Okay, inshallah. I've shared it here, inshallah. Oh, oops. Okay. Listen, let me send it to everyone. Okay.
Yeah,
So inshallah, it should be on the group, inshallah. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, Jazakallah khair.
Okay. Wiyakum inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.